You know, if someone asked if you were a god,
you say yes.
Hey toy fans, coming all the way in from another dimension, we have the famous and crazy deity Gozer, the Traveler from the Hasbro Plasma series Ghostbusters. This one, pretty cool. Of course, we got Gozer, and we get the head of Vince Clortho. So we've got, you know, the head of the Terror Dog, the Build-A-Figure that comes with these. A couple things to note. Really cool figurine so far. I'm seeing a few things I'm not quite sure I like about it, and we'll get into that when we get in the review. So let's jump into it. Let's check out the box, check out the figure, let's check it all out, and see if it's well worth the price that we're going to be paying for it. And this is Gozer on card. Now, Gozer, of course, being the main villain of the Ghostbusters movie, we get him/her in god form. Because remember, Gozer can be anything it wants to be. The cool thing about Gozer is that they really tried to stick with the subtleties of the colorization of the actual figure. And we'll get into that once we start getting it out of the package and breaking it down. Gozer, much like the other figures in the line, comes with the same style box as all the other figures so far, where it looks like almost like the jersey or the flight suit that they have from Ghostbusters, except this time the name badge actually has Gozer on it. Of course, we see Gozer nice and displayed in the box here. If we go to the side, we've got our Art Deco of the boys, and then on the back this time, where we have the lineup of figures, we see that Gozer's the one highlighted with a new bio about Gozer. Gozer, the Destructor and Traveler. Gozer is an ancient evil with a lot of aliases. So that's pretty much it, and then the rest is in French. We know that Gozer comes with the head because for our Vince Clortho. Now that's the package, and much like the other packages, there's a lot of really good things that they're doing with this package and that it really stands out. But the package isn't going to tell us anything more about the action figure. We need to get it out and see what's inside. And this is Gozer outside of the package. Now, some really cool things. And it's really kind of hard to pick up on my camera, but there's a subtle pink colorization to her outfit. So it's got a nice subtle pinkness to it with the pearlized kind of tone to the pearls and bubbles on the outside of the suit. The actual detail in the outfit itself is amazing because there's so much texture built into it. It is a really cool figure. The figure stands pretty well and comes with two accessories. Of course, the Vince Clortho head, which has articulated jaw. That's nice. And then you get two hands that actually have the lightning, you know. Are you a god? No. Then die. Psh. Now, there's one thing I want to say about these hands before I get started into anything else. I love having the lightning effects, and I think that that's such a cool thing to have. But in order to do it, you gotta pop off a hand with that tiny peg. You gotta put this one on, and that's how you get the lightning effect. Now, the lightning effect is super cool. I love it. But I do wonder, without having to have a whole bunch of extra parts laying around, if it would have been easier just to have the lightning sculpt up where it would have attached to the forearm. Because if you remember in the movie, when she turns and then shoots the lightning off, the lightning starts up on the forearm, wraps around, and then comes off the fingertips. I personally would have much rather have the lightning go off onto the forearms instead of having interchangeable hands. Because the one thing I'm more afraid of over time is that the peg on these hands will deteriorate enough that it's going to break off and I no longer have a hand, or I have to super glue or hot glue a hand in, and that doesn't make for a very fun action figure down the road. Now, besides for the actual hand issue, this figure has a ton of articulation. We've got a ball jointed head, which actually has a bit of a rocker joint on the inside. We've got a bit of a ball jointed rib cage, and then we have an ab crunch too, which is not something we normally have with the Hasbro Ghostbusters Plasma series toys. We do get the ball swivel shoulder. And then of course we got a ball swivel elbow as well. And a ball swivel wrist, which does fairly well. Down here we've got the ball jointed hip, the thigh swivel, double jointed knees, and then of course the ankle swivel here with the foot rocker on it, which kind of does a, see if we can get it, kind of, it's a weird one. It does help her stand. With the Vince Clortho head, we do have the ball jointed, so this will fit onto the Dana action figures part of Vince Clortho. And this time we've got the articulation in the jaw. It is kind of tight, and one thing to note is that the kind of skin that goes up into his mouth, at a certain point, if you pull it too far, it comes out and it looks a little obscure, a little strange. But other than that, the detail in it is very nice. Each one of the lightning bolt hands is unique to its own. And there's no articulation in that pegged area there, which again would have been easily fixed if it just went and attached to the forearms instead. Now let's compare her to one of the other figures in the line. Here's her against Ray. She does stand a little bit shorter than Ray himself, but is still very much in the scale. Instead of having that double articulation in the elbows, which, you know, I'm not as big of a fan of the double joints in the elbows and the knees. I really feel like the elbows on this one for her would have been kind of overkill. However, the double jointing in the knees makes it really easy for her to do kneel poses and super jump poses, which is nice. So that's Gozer. And I have to admit, even though I see a lot of Gozer being passed up because, you know, maybe some people are like, well, I'm only going to get the 4 Ghostbusters and I only want the boys or I only want this. Gozer, I think, is one of those figures that's kind of like a hidden gem for this line. It's kind of firing on all cylinders, even with the small kind of craziness of the fingertips that I really wanted to have as lightning bolt that was a snap-on for the wrist, blah, blah, blah. This is still a really good figure, and I'm super glad to have this one in my collection itself because the face sculpt is phenomenal, the actual tooling of the body is phenomenal, and the way it moves is really good action figure and well worth you having and very deserving to be in this Ghostbusters line. Alright, that's Gozer, and for what we get so far with the Plasma series for the Ghostbusters line, Hasbro has been killing it. They've done a really good job. Now, I've got the full collection, I'm breaking down each one, and I'm finding flaws here and there and things that I feel they could have changed up and things that maybe they want to change it, they want to release it again in a new way. But one area that really bothers me is the hands. I'm not big on switching out hands and then having pairs of hands left over just kind of floating around. I tend to lose them, which why when I collected the Masters Universe Classics, I've got like a bin full of parts and I don't know what to do with it. I have a lunch pail on display because that's what holds all the extra heads and stuff. I'm not as big of a fan of that, but it's okay. I really feel like this would have been better served if they had a snap-on lightning that started up here, just wrapped around, and then could stretch out over the hands. But that's me personally. Other than that, the ab crunch is a little weird, the way that it cuts into the body. But it's not too bad if you don't go too far with it. I think the figure is actually pretty awesome. And not only awesome, like the likeness, the face sculpting of it, I mean, it's beautiful. This is an incredible figure, and the thing that I really like about what Hasbro is doing is that they seem to be hitting the marks for a on-shelf, like, collector's market and kids. Whereas, you know, Mattel, which I love, they kind of missed the mark on a lot of the face sculpts. Mezco is doing great, but, you know, you're also getting bigger figurines that have, you know, more tighter joints to it that aren't really meant for play, whereas this is more of a play toy and now a good collector's piece as well. So definitely worth having each one of these in line. And I really think like this one is like one of those shining gems that normally people are going to pass on. It's a good one to have. Money wise, $2 signs. The reason why I got it at normal retail price. I haven't seen these go down any. As a matter of fact, they kind of stay on the shelf and then don't stay on the shelf. Stay on the shelf and don't stay. So they kind of got these weird waves where I see them a lot and then I won't see them at all. One of my local Walmarts the other day had, oh goodness, right before Christmas, they had, I think, like 20 of them, where they had 5 of them were Gozer. And then went back today and there was none. So it's kind of hit or miss, and the same with Target lately. Good thing to know, with that you do get the Vince Clortho head. So if you're wanting to do the Terror Dog Build-A-Figure, you're going to need this, because headless dog is just kind of weird. You can have a 3-legged dog, but a headless dog, not so much. All right, out of stars on this. So out of 5 stars, with that lightning, and that lightning is something that just really bugs me, because again, I don't like having extra hands. But I think it was a good alternative for them not having to sculpt out the part that goes in the wrist. So with that being said, I'm going to go 5 stars out of this. And it seems so strange I would give this one 5 stars. It's not a Ghostbusters, not a Proton Pack, but it's from the Ghostbusters series, and it's done so well that I kind of have to give it like a really good rating. So overall, I think it's a really cool figure to have. Remember, they're not dolls, they're action figures that choose the form of the Destructor. This episode of Tay Ray Gun was sponsored by Marvin Dog Media. To learn more about Marvin Dog Media, visit www.marvindogmedia.com. If you liked the video, be sure to hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below to let YouTube know that you like what I'm making. And be sure to hit that bell notification so you get updates to future content.